Hello and welcome back to another week of Just Gay Stuff podcast. I'm Lauren.
And I'm Jess, and welcome to everybody who is listening on Joy 94.9 FM, or if you're listening on a streaming service, or if you're watching this on the Tube. Thank you for joining us.
Since when
week.
does anyone call it the Tube?
It's the Tube now.
Oh, is that what the kids are calling it these days?
No, because we're not in with the kid lingo anymore, so I'm making my own now. So.
This is terrible. Well, today I'm very excited because we have another brand new guest.
We've been showered in guests lately. It's been great.
And this wonderful guest is a comedy genius, I could probably say, and has graced the stages from Dublin to New York to Caboolture.
Wow.
I know. He's a stand-up comedian, a certified cutie pie according to Britney Spears.
We'll get into that later.
And currently bringing his brilliant and bizarre and beautiful brain to the Brisbane Comedy Festival.
Please welcome to the podcast, Ciaran.
Hey, hello.
Hello, Ciaran.
How are you?
Good, thank you. How are you?
Very well, thanks very much. I should have asked beforehand, am I allowed to drink while recording this?
Yeah, go for
it.
Having a cheeky wine, I love it.
We should have done that too.
She loves a glass of wine.
Love it.
Well, welcome to the podcast. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me.
So first up, why don't you tell listeners who you are and a bit about your show at Brisbane Festival? What's the name, what's the vibe, and what's going on?
My name is Ciaran. I'm a filthy immigrant. So at Brisbane Comedy Festival, it's the first year I'm in there with those guys, and the show is called Broke and Alone in Brisbane. I did it for the first time maybe a year ago in a small theatre in the Valley. And then I did it at home in Dublin over Christmas just gone. And that was in this really cool theatre that was built in 1662 when the Vikings were wandering around. Yeah.
You shared the stage with some ghosts, I reckon.
Absolutely. It was the Vikings running around with their giant headdresses and me. So
you felt right at home.
Absolutely. I've done a couple of mini gigs when I've been home for Christmases. That was the first time I did a big one. And that room was very big. And lots of people who've been watching my antics for 3 years on social media and have known me since childhood and stuff, they came. So that was very pressurized. But it went phenomenally well and ended with a big standing ovation. So no issues there. So now that show is being brought to Brisbane for Brisbane Comedy Festival, which I'm excited about at the Powerhouse. And from May 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th. But my only problem there is it has to be 55 minutes and a dead cut off because there's another person who is using the room after me. And when I did the show in Dublin, I went for 91 minutes because a bitch likes to rant.
Oh.
Yeah.
And Brisbane loves to hear a bitch rant and rant and
They
rant.
do.
Absolutely. So I have my best friend, I call him Bestie, and he goes to tons of my gigs and takes notes and gives me feedback. And he rates me after every gig as to how I've done. A little bit brutal, but ultimately helpful. So he will be at the back of the sound desk with
He'll
a timer,
be wrapping up
with a timer telling me when I need to get out of there. Yeah, for sure.
Will he hold up a giant placard or will he just do these little ones that you see in theatre?
No, I told him literally just to say, Ciaran, shut the fuck up. And that's how I know there's a 5-minute call to finish up the ending. So
nice.
Brisbane people
I love that.
aren't too bougie about stuff like that. So I think it'll be okay.
Yeah,
it'll be good.
Well, what brought you to Australia?
So, interesting story. My twin sister, she lives 3 doors down the hall from me in the building I live in, but she came here for a year. And then the plan was only to come for a year, and she's in her 10th year now. And she came here, and I was still at home. I had just finished my master's degree, and I started working in our government buildings, and I worked with a minister type person. And she was up for re-election, and I worked with her re-election campaign. And my sister said to me, if she wins, you stay. If she doesn't, you go. And she lost by 70 votes.
Wow.
It was a huge constituency. And Ireland is magnificent, my favourite place on earth. But I spent months being rained on, knocking on doors after doing a full day in her office. And I'd done this only a few months earlier. She was really in favour of marriage equality. So I was the first one off the bat with her in early January. The referendum at home didn't happen until May. So from January, February, March, Ireland's miserably cold. It's freezing. I'm soaked every night. So I was getting home every night and asking my mother to cook me dinner at 9:30 p.m. because I was so miserable.
Oh.
And then, no disrespect to our gay brothers, but they all turned up on May 1st when the weather got nice and tank tops to knock on doors. And I was like, F all of y'all, you're here too late. God bless her, I love her. But she lost, and my sister said, all right, come over to Australia. And I was coming for a year. That was the plan. And here we are. I think I'm in my 9th year here now.
Wow.
Just one of those things. You kind of just plod along and things start to happen. And you're like, la, 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 la. And then obviously the 3-year lockdown-y thing.
Yeah.
Because we couldn't leave the country. So it's sort of 3 years just gone. So I kind of say I'm here 9 years, but I'm sort of here 6. With freedom of choice.
Yeah.
A woman's right to choose has only been 6. but I've been here for 9.
Yeah. Right. Well, let's get into like how you became a stand-up comedian, because I've often thought about, how do you make that jump? Do you ask your friends and your family if they think that you're funny and if you should go for it, or where do you start?
No, it's such an unusual thing, and I got to it a lot later than everyone else, but I was always growing up obsessed with sitcoms and stuff like that when they were really big in the 90s, and I'd watch things really, really repetitively, and people had always been telling me I was funny growing up, and like, that's fine, but if you have natural funniness, that helps a great deal. But being naturally funny is one thing, but like standing up and being funny on stage is another. So I thought about it for quite a while. I don't know if I was looking, I was going to say I wanted to challenge myself, but no, because that's a bit cringe for me, but I wanted to challenge myself.
You wanted to do some personal growth.
Absolutely. I wanted to grow. I wanted to go on a journey. All of this stuff I rally against in my show, so I find it really hard to... But there was eventually, I know everyone's anxious, but I'm not anxious. Anxiety owns me. So I was very anxious and I was like, how on earth does one start this? And a lot of people tell you, like, in and around the scene, like, you just go jump up on an open mic, and I was like, can't do that. So there is a seasoned comic of like 20 years in Brisbane who runs a comedy course. Her name is Fiona McGarry, and she runs it every few months out of the Sit Down Comedy Club. And basically what happens there is you do a Saturday and a Sunday in the club during the daytime with her, like 4 or 5 hours, chats, note taking, she gives you tips, you ask questions, so on and so forth. And then 2 weeks later, everyone in the group has like a showcase graduation night with the group you've been with in the Sit Down Comedy Club, and you invite friends and family to come and all that, and that's how I got my entryway into it. That was horrifying.
Yeah, I bet.
It sounds horrifying.
That sounds terrifying to me.
In fact, now I completely understand what she was saying. She's like, it's a really warm crowd, because she's right. They're all people who are coming to heavily support everyone trying something really daunting. But at the time, she's like, okay, so one of the final challenges was you need to invite family and friends. And I was like, nope, not doing that. So I did invite family and friends, but I can tell you, before I went, I'll never, ever forget it. A friend of mine, she, just by happenstance, she lives in my building now, but she didn't then. And we met on the course, and she and I took an Uber from this building over to Paddington together. And I've never been, I'm telling you, like, pissing myself, terrified. So I was the first one to go up. I was sitting on a stool at the side of the stage, and I asked to be first the way I'd made a couple of the jokes. I had 1 foot on the ground and 1 foot on the stool, and my twin sister was in the audience, and obviously she knows me so well. She looked and said, he's a bit bolted at the door. And that's what I was thinking in my head. I was like, I'm just going to leave, because nobody can do anything to me and I can just go. And I did not leave. I went up and did it. But I remember thinking, if this goes badly, I'm never showing my face to humanity ever again. But it didn't. Again, in the spirit of going too long, you were allowed to do 5 minutes, and I did 11 and a half.
Oh, wow. So you clearly were loving it up there.
I know. Once it got going, I was like, course coordinator Fiona said to me afterwards, she's like, you said a whole ton of stuff that wasn't in your script. I'm like, yeah, it was great.
I'm just a natural. That's why I'm here.
Natural. I can't help it. But then there was like another year of you start to go to open mics. And that year I shit myself all year long. I used to dissociate when I came out of them. So again, my best friend was there with me. And there was one in the Valley I did. Like, it was maybe the 5th or 6th one. I wasn't doing them every week. It was like split. And it's right at the end of the Brunswick Street Mall. There's this bar that has 3 steps up to get into the front doorway of it. And I came out of the place I'd been. It had gone well. And I walked up to the 3 steps, and the doors were closed. And I just stood there staring at this closed door. And my friend was standing there. And he's like, oh, fuck, he snapped. This is it.
He's back.
He was like, oh, no, we're not going to do this anymore. But I think gradually it got easier and easier. But then at the end of my second year, I did my full hour the first time, and that's kind of unheard of. Usually comics will be a few years in before they do it, but of course I like to torment myself. Irish Catholic gays are good like that. It's the Catholicism. But once I did that, I was like, oh yeah. I was like, I never want to be on like a split bill night with other people ever again. The ego took over entirely. I'm like, no, it just needs to be about me all the time.
Yeah.
That's not how it works entirely, but that's how we work at the Powerhouse for 4 nights, and I'm thrilled about that. So that's how I got into it. And that's, yeah, so far so good, but a lot of effing work.
So really what you could do is do an hour of new material every night and then force everyone to come back the following night for new material.
You absolutely could. And you know what? The more I think about it, I don't even really need to write as much anymore, because I just rant. I'm pissed off by everything. So I'm like, I just rant and rant and rant. So yeah, you're probably right. I probably could do that. Yeah. But that's how I got into it. Yeah, so yeah,
that's awesome.
Interesting.
Yeah. Do you feel like you have a different comedic persona to then the persona of your personal life?
That's a great question. I often see, so one of my favorite comedians, it was often noted, her name was Joan Rivers. She's dead now, but she was very, very out there and very like offended every single thing and every
Yeah.
single person. But the more I've learned about her since she passed away, like friends of hers spoke to the New York Times or documentaries, and it was how classy she was and how she wasn't like that in her personal life. And she donated so much money to varying charities and did charity work and all this type of thing. And they said that was a split persona. I think it merges in and out. I think a lot of what I say up there is informed by stuff I've seen in my life and that type of thing. I'd say I'm probably closer on stage to this nutbag who's on stage than I would care to be.
Yeah.
But the longer I've been on earth, the more bitter I've gotten. Like, I wasn't like this when I was young.
I feel every older person says that. We're the same.
My parents are really lovely. Like, my mother and father, if you met them, you'd be like, how the fuck does he belong to them? Like, they're so nice. I was raised really well. And something just took over. I don't know. Let's blame the gays. But so I'd say I'm pretty similar to what's on stage. Yeah, for sure.
And if you didn't do comedy, what do you think you would do? Or do you think there was ever a moment really where you thought the comedy thing wouldn't work out?
Oh, I think it won't work out every single time. So
okay. You just go for it every time.
Absolutely. The minute I finish a gig, I'm like, well, that's over. I failed. There's nothing else to look forward to. It's finished. It's over. It's gone. So already, I haven't even done the Powerhouse yet. And I'm already like, what happens next? I'm someone who loves a big plan. But my day job, I went to university for like many years and I had 2 undergraduate degrees and a master's degree. So my day job is actually they were all related to like foreign relations and equality and race relations and stuff like that. So that's probably what I would be doing full time. I'd love to do the both of them. Ideally, in a perfect world, I'd like 3 days a week, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, those things, and do shows the weekend. But that's very idealistic of me. I don't know if it will work out like that.
Oh, well, look, you have to put it out there. It can happen. It can happen.
Absolutely. You're totally right.
Have you had any specific feedback from your shows that has stuck out to you, not just from your best friend?
Often I don't, like, I take much more from on the open mic nights, they're great because they're usually in bars and people will say things to you really quickly in passing. But the big ones I've done, particularly Dublin, I got messages from people who know me 20 years after it and I was like bawling like a child because they were they were like pretty intense experience and they were like, you're incredible. And for people to say that when you've worked so hard, and comedians are nuts. Like, even the ones who are really confident are still always worried that they're not as good as they think they are and so on and so forth. And anyone who tells you that's not true is lying to you. Comedians are all nuts.
Yeah. You have to be a little bit unhinged,
I was going to say, we all have to be a little unhinged.
Absolutely, to varying degrees. But so the messages after my show in Dublin, they were like really, really moving. Until like next week when I'll get even better messages, one hopes. And if not, that's what I said to my employer. I'm like, if it goes well, you'll see me on Tuesday. If not, I'm on a plane out of here. I'm gone.
Nice.
So we'll see.
I'm sure it will go well.
Well, you describe your comedy as being heavily inspired by the inception of the internet. So what are your favourite jokes to tell, I suppose, and what specifically inspires you?
He's not going to tell you his jokes.
No, but what's the inspiration behind them? Because, some people love to joke about politics and some people love to joke about other things. So what's your inspiration behind your comedy?
Again, to do with getting older, I find celebrity culture to be pretty nauseous now, really sickening. But I used to love it for a long time. I was pretty fascinated by it. But then you have on the flip side of all the academics I had. So I would mix geopolitics with like the most ridiculous pop culture. For example, I would often compare the Kardashians to like a genocide.
Oh shit.
And pretty much how that's affected us. I mean, I was here. If anyone asks my age, we're sticking with 28. That's what I say. 28 is fine. But I was here before the internet started. Now, the only good thing I will tell you about the internet was Britney Spears was at her height and she had a website. And interesting fact, for the first 8 years since the inception of the internet, she was the #1 searched person for 8 years in a row. So just shout out to Britney. That's all. But beyond Ms. Spears, I find the rest of them to be just pond scum, and in the most loving way.
Yeah, oh, totally.
I was reading an article. I do an awful lot of reading of like broadsheet newspapers and stuff like that, and research papers still. I'm kind of a little bit nerdy sometimes. But I was reading this article recently and it was to do with Israel-Palestine. And I've always been very aware of the Palestine thing. Ireland went through not the exact same struggle, but similar struggles with colonization and the British a long time ago. And it still sits there in the psyche. And he said, once you start to understand Palestine, you'll never look at the rest of the world the same again. And I would say particularly the last 2 years. I had inklings with the celebrities for quite some time. But now I look at some of the stuff and I'm like, even that spaceship with Katy Perry and everything. And like, you know, the worst part is I'm probably going to have to live the rest of my life watching her spin that little flower around in my head. Like, I can't escape that ever again.
But you can also make endless jokes about it too.
Can you hear those sirens?
Yeah.
So I live in Newstead in Brisbane. Every time a fire alarm goes off in one of these buildings, the fire service has to come. And people around here are not very bright.
Oh.
Yeah, a lot of them are in the act too. So it's just constantly noisy. And people are always like, that's inner city living. And I'm like, the city's 3 kilometers away. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
Like the inner suburbs, stop it. This is a haven for really, really basic white people. I'm not one of them.
I thought they just came because we started talking about Katy Perry and the flower.
Yeah.
And the police were on their way already.
Yeah, they were concerned we'd all collapse and die.
Yeah.
But yeah, so mine would be a very much a mix of really political stuff and sometimes not as easy to deal with stuff mixed in with like a comparison of something that's so saccharine and stupid. Because you don't want to assault people with information. You want them to enjoy what you're saying, but just to see kind of the hypocrisy of all of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, poor Justin Bieber, but I mean, who gives a shit? If he's doing meth, let him enjoy. He's earned it.
Yeah.
You don't want to assault people with information, but you can insult people with information.
Absolutely. I did a joke the day Liam Payne passed away.
Oh, did it land? I mean, oh shit.
Oh no.
They were all
That was so
horrified.
not
Calm
pun
down,
intended.
she's coming for your gig.
They were all horrified. It was great. That was really nice. It's not too far off what the joke is. But that was nice for me just because we'll repeat a lot of material a lot again and again and again because you do open mics around town, 5, 10 minutes, whatever, 15 minutes. And they got such a shock. I was like, oh, it's quite delicious. Thank you. So yeah, but I don't really go for like shock humor. But sometimes when you say things like a comparison with the genocide with the Kardashian, people are shocked. And that kind of speaks more to, I guess, the time that we live in now, more so than anything else. Not to sound like Joe Rogan, but I feel like everyone's offended by everything. And that's a little bit worrying when you just want to make people laugh. I kind of feel like when you go into a comedy room, I feel like most things, not everything, and it also depends who the comedian is and what they're saying, what their intent is. Particularly, my big thing is intent. And I think certain people can get away with saying certain things and certain people cannot. And you just need to know what that is and where it's placed and how intelligent the joke is.
Yeah.
There's some basic tirade about a marginalized group, but then I'm like, no. But yeah, I'm pretty open with where people can go to explore things. I just got the Powerhouse, so I'm not looking to be thrown out yet.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, I can't believe that you actually met Britney Spears. We're going to talk about that for a little bit because she was my queer awakening. So the fact that you've met her in person and called you a cutie pie.
Are you jealous as?
I'm jealous as fuck right now. Is that like a gay rite of passage you carry with you? The fact that you've met her, one, and then the fact that she actually called you cute? My God.
She lives with me. So I've seen most of her world tours. Anyone that came to Dublin, I saw it. But the last one where I met her, I was living in Australia. So I flew all the way back to Dublin to see it with my friends.
Wow.
Fair.
It was very difficult and quite complicated, but I managed to snag a meet and greet ticket.
Wow.
Oh.
Yeah, once I had it for about 5 months beforehand. And I was living at the gym relentlessly. I believe it or not, I look really pale, but I go really brown if I lay out in the sun in the tan, but I don't have skin cancer. So I decided I was going to get a spray tan. I was like, fuck this shit. I'm going to go and look at my best for Ms. Spears. And I was so thin. I looked a little emaciated and I had a tan and I was so subdued. I decided I'm not just going to walk into my clothes. So I did sketches and I got a designer here. He was on RuPaul's Drag Race last season in Australia.
Oh.
I can't remember his Andrew is his real life name, but Mandy Moobs, I think, is his.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah, really nice, lovely, talented guy. But I brought these sketches to him and I said, I'm getting a leather jacket. I wanted it studded, similar to in the video for Till the World End. She's in a studded jacket. And I got on the back of it in gold studs, it's Britney bitch and tons of other studs down it. So when I was queuing outside to go in, giant security guards, you're in the venue hours beforehand. They took us behind the stage. We saw all our costumes. They took us onto the stage. I got to go down the runway. She skips down and waves. Hi, y'all. It was in the line. I must have been 10th. It was really quick. It was like a rotating line. But I swear to God, I was standing here. There's a curtain here. I turned the corner. And then I just see her eyes, her big brown eyes moving toward, like, it's so slow-mo in my head. And all of a sudden, Britney Spears is staring at me. And she's like this. And I wanted her to know about the jacket. And I knew I had really limited time. So I turned around and I was like, I got this made for especially tonight. And she's like, the Louisiana accent comes out. And she's like, oh my God, sweetie, that's so cool. You're a cutie pie.
Oh my God.
And then I moved towards her to take the picture with her. And you don't want to get some of the pictures off that last tour because it was during the end of the conservatorship and all, and there was some really bad pictures of fans where she was either medicated or upset or whatever the case, but she smiled really gently because she looked really happy at the jacket. And then as I was standing beside her before they took the photo, I was like, it's a pleasure to meet you, Miss Spears. What do you say?
What do you say? What do you say? Oh my God, what a dream.
And she said,
that's
really
amazing.
Photo. And I was like, I love you. And she's like, thank you so much. And then I was gone. And I stood outside staring at the ground and her bodyguards were looking at me like I was about to have like a psychotic break or something. I was.
You just went to the side and you're like, leave Britney alone.
I know. And then there were 10 of my friends at the foot of like 3 flights of stairs back into the arena. and they all just started screaming like crazy when I was coming down. So people started looking at me like I was famous, and I was like, "Oh, that's Britney Spears." So that was one of the highlights of my entire life. Yeah.
Wow.
Absolutely.
I do not blame you. That's amazing.
It's a total queer person's dream. Like, just to wrap up what Ciaran said just now, met Britney Spears, got Mandy Moobs to make a costume for him to go to Britney Spears in, and then it had "It's Britney, bitch" on the back in studs.
Now the ultimate question, do you still have said jacket?
It is in my walk-in in Brisbane. I brought it back from Ireland to here. And sometimes when I have a really good friend, I let them touch the left sleeve because that's where her arm was put around the back of my sleeve.
Oh my God.
Yeah. They must be really, really good friends.
They are good friends. They're usually the ones who bring wine. Yeah, but no, it's here. I will never, ever give it away. And actually, I was in a pair of black cons, black leather cons, high top ones, and I brought them back to me too. But they're the pair I wore on stage the first night I did stand-up, and I've worn those cons every single time I've done stand-up ever since because they met Britney and they're like my good luck charm. They're in bits now, but they've seen many a dirty street around Brisbane for sure.
Wow.
That's amazing.
Do you have a photo of you and Britney you could send us so we could put it on the video for this?
It's on my gram. Yeah, I'll send it to you. And I think the jacket's from there too. Yeah. I'll send it to you. No issue.
Yeah, I would love to put that up on the video so everyone can see. That would be amazing.
Cool. Well, speaking of the queer awakening and
being a gay podcast,
we're going to take it back a bit and just ask about your own queer journey and what was your coming out story like, if you're happy to share.
Yeah, fine. Mine was a little more complicated. I had a lot of stuff happening in my life. Other things to do with other people that had issues going on in their lives. And that sort of delayed me coming to the forefront with it. I wasn't very happy about it for quite some time. I wasn't thrilled. I was like, this is quite the inconvenience, guys. My parents are married 52 years and they actually still really care for each other. So I kind of had this as what was going to happen. And you must remember, like, gay marriage hasn't happened that long ago around the world, in Australia, in Ireland, wherever the case may be. And the change, like I always say, it's one of the greatest societal shifts I've ever seen. Like, there's jokes in my act now about how, it's a terrible joke, but it's a great joke, but it's about how I used to love it when people hated gays. Because you could be down the back of a nightclub going down in an alley and you're waiting for like 10 Sudanese young men to come and break your neck. And now it's soccer moms cheering you on saying, suck him off, sweetie. Because everyone's so proud and happy and the thrill has gone. When I was coming of age and whatnot, it definitely not as well received as it is now. I feel like I know there's still problems, I'm not saying that. But comparatively, I can't believe the shift that has occurred, even in terms of mainstream media, broadcasting. I feel like it's a subset of society that has become really welcomed in a lot of ways. I think it became quite popular, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But I had issues around that. And then I was into my early 20s before I went and spoke to the folks about it. And I lived in New York for a few years and I'd done that and came back. And I was effing wild in New York because I decided I was just going to have fun there, and I effing did.
I feel like that's a place you can.
Absolutely, because New York is like a paradise for anyone who is, I don't even say alternative, but anyone who's just not really white bread, mainstream, like
everyone who's against the grain.
Everyone is absolutely fucking nuts in New York, and I love it. And it's just mad stuff going on constantly, and nobody bats an eyelid. Like, la, 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 la. Like, if you were on the subway and Beyonce was sitting across and you, they'd be like, well, fine, whatever.
It's crazy.
So eventually I did tell the folks. Then I had a couple of attempts at boyfriends. Because I suppose I still wanted what my parents had but in my version of it. And they turned out to be absolute fucking arseholes. And that's me being objective. But it was a massive economic collapse. I worked shit jobs I didn't like for years, even though it was good to have a job because lots of people my age didn't. Then I went back to do my master's. Then, listen to this. So I got accepted into like one of the most prestigious universities. It's on the top 100 in the world. It's the top one in Ireland. And the week I got in, I met my final boyfriend that I had. Kind of didn't destroy my master's, definitely impacted it very negatively. And he ended up being an absolute fucking arsehole. And
objective again.
I know, thank you. I was at home going to do a show one night at Christmas. And I was taking a bus into the city and the bus door is open. He was standing right directly in front of me. I was like, me, man. But he didn't see me, so it was fine. So that was kind of the journey along. And then in between, like a typical gay man, there was like lots of hookups and things like that. But that's it. And here we are now. And so the last time I had a boyfriend was years upon years ago, because of like after that I was like, no, you know what? Fuck this. I'm going to fuck him. No, I'm not going to fuck him. Fuck him. And I'm going to I'm going to have a great day job, which I do, and then I'm going to be a really successful, wealthy comedian, which I do, and then I'm just going to get loads of cats and like fuck all the gay men, but not fuck all the gay men, just fuck all the gay men.
Fuck all the gay men. The punctuation happening here.
And I was like, you know what? I'm going to have so much money that if I want to get whores, I can. But I'm not even into that. This was just a mantra in my head. So that's how the coming out stuff happened, I guess, and where it led us all to. So I wouldn't say pretty unusual. It would be common in some respects, but I know a lot of friends who went off and had boyfriends and husbands and stuff like that, but that's just not where it took me. So, and I'm not regretful about it at all. Things are fine. I'm just amazingly talented.
Yeah, definitely.
That sleeps beside me on the pillow at night. It's fine.
Yeah. See, but now you get paid to tell really unhinged jokes about those people if you want to.
I know. Come here, listen. There's whole big sections of my show. They're dedicated to some of the wild stuff that's gone on in my life, which is exactly what you just said. Great.
Yeah,
Can't beat it.
That's so cool.
Well, it's been nice to see the rise of more queer comedians, especially more recently. Do you think that queerness has helped shape your comedy? I guess we just spoke about there's some routine about your partners or ex-partners, but do you feel that comedy can also be a good space, politically speaking as well, to educate those outside of the community, you know, insulting them with information?
Absolutely, 100%. When I wrote my original act, I remember thinking, I'm going to have to do this in front of like straight men in like fucking alehouse pubs and shit. And I'm like, I want to give them, not that I should pander to them, but also when you're new, you're very fragile at it and you don't want to like harm yourself mentally more. But I wanted to give them an entryway into it. So I would make fun of myself and the experiences I had and then make reference to the time I was intimate with a woman and weave the two around. So I think even in doing that for people, and again, it wasn't me pandering to them, it was almost me trying to make myself as an entertainer more accessible to them.
Yeah.
But I think ultimately that educates and informs them that he's very similar to us. He's just described being with a woman, and even though he's with men, some of the experiences he's had with men translate to us too. And I'm not just talking about straight men. I think it can go across the board. As an example, see, I absolutely think that what you do up there can very much inform people about acceptance, but just about, even if they don't accept you, just about how other people's lives are, and just to be aware of the fact that other people are having lives like this. I'm not saying you have to come out and come running along beside me and hold pride flags, but just I think acceptance is a really nice thing, like a really chill, nice thing where people can be low-key cool and be like, oh, all right, okay. Because I like to get into the New York Times comment section and argue with Zionists. And
I love that.
I do that a lot. Just if I'm getting sleepy and haven't slept well, that will wake me right up. And I was thinking today when I was arguing with someone, I don't know what came over me today, some sort of kumbaya shit. I'm like, can we all not just chill? And you can be your crazy Zio self, and I can be someone who's not crazy, but we can just live harmoniously or some shit where we just don't kill people. That'd be nice. I'll settle for that. I'm not asking you to not, like, I don't know, do other crazy things, but just don't kill people. So anyway, I do, to answer your question in a very long-winded way, I do believe it can absolutely inform, affect change for sure.
Yeah, I feel like it definitely works to bridge the gap, especially when we're talking about allowing audiences outside of the queer space to know you as a person and that you aren't so far removed from them.
Oh, absolutely. And you know what the thing is? And I think of like people like Dame Edna, and then in the UK there was Lily Savage, and lots of people outside of our cohort would love those entertainers, which is essentially, of course it's drag, irrespective of how they identify sexually, but funny is funny. You know what I mean? So if the gay guy is telling a joke about having forgotten to douche and he inadvertently shits on the guy, that's funny. It's gross, but it's funny. And across the board, that will usually be met with laughter. And I think that really does bridge the gap, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think comedy can get people through like tons of things. And again, when I revert back to my favorite comedian, Joan Rivers, used to always say, no matter what has happened, comedy can fix it. If you get to make someone laugh for an hour, you give them a vacation, no matter what's going on.
They do say laughter is the best kind of medicine.
Yeah, they do say that. They've said it for centuries.
They have. Speaking of laughter, you've performed in Dublin, London, New York, and Caboolture. So this question, and I want you to be honest, which crowd has been the most unhinged and why was it Caboolture?
To be fair, it was probably Dublin.
Probably.
Dublin was effing wild. Dublin was effing wild. Caboolture was fine, but they all seemed like they were, I don't want to say strung out in substances, but...
So we won't say that.
No, we won't say that.
We'll just hint towards it.
People of Caboolture, they're lovely. It's a nice party town. But Dublin, Dublin's just, aside from my gig, the open mic ones I've done in the city, in Ireland you get an awful lot of Americans because we're such close proximity and they all think they're Irish as well, which is cute. But there are a lot of them, and they were easy enough going because friends of mine who are still in New York who are very pro-Palestine, they were like, I make a lot of Palestine jokes in my show, or references to it rather, and they're like, you just couldn't say that here. But the Yanks in the crowd seem very supportive of me saying that. So I would say Dublin. Yeah, the most unhinged crowd has to. My solo, that'll be the highlight of my life for like probably.
Nice.
Yeah.
And what would you say is the worst kind of crowd, besides a crowd that doesn't laugh, obviously?
I have no experience of that. They always laugh.
Oh, good for you. That's awesome.
That's lucky.
I'm joking. The worst type of crowd is the one who is, I sort of empathize with them because I'm like, I have no idea why you people are here on a Monday night. I would be at home on my couch and I'd be chilling with a glass of wine. Why are you in a public setting?
Yeah.
But they're ones who they're half in, half out, and they got dragged there by someone. It's not in the clubs usually. It's usually a lot of open mic nights are in bars. And they were like, I just wanted to have my chicken schnitzel and go home and have one beer and watch the football. And then this migrant is screaming at me. The sleepy crowds are by a mile the worst. You just kind of like, God loves them. They're trying to be polite and they give you the occasional. And you're like, oh, just fuck off and go home. None of us are here for this. Leave me alone.
Yeah.
That'll be it for sure.
I guess it's the same for theatre. It's hard when you don't get the recognition, like the clap or the laugh or something. So, of course, you're like, ugh, fuck off.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's really unusual. And 99% of the time they'd laugh at one part. But then I was doing this comedy contest and it was in the final. And they never laughed at this other line. And then I said the other line and they all started laughing and it really threw off my pacing because I'm like, why are you laughing at that? Nobody's ever laughed at that before.
Yeah.
When you're up there, like there's a million things going through your mind in one go. So yeah, I don't understand people.
I don't think you can try and understand people.
No, I don't think so.
You said that your favourite comedian and obviously a big inspiration to you is Joan Rivers, but do you have another favourite comedian?
So I really like Ricky Gervais. I really like, there's an American lady named Kathy Griffin. I've never seen anyone tell stories the way she's able to tell stories. Absolutely unreal. And it's so funny because I don't necessarily find American humor funny, but a lot of the comics I seem to like are American. I've been to see Chelsea Handler. I enjoyed her.
Oh, I'm jealous.
Oh, yeah, she's great. Two friends of mine, one very good friend and a lady I know, they both opened for her in Melbourne and in Brisbane.
Wow.
And I was like, wow, that's cool. There's an Irish lady named Joanne McNally, and she's like, she's gone way up now, and she'll be on tour here again in a year or something like that, and she's great.
Wow.
That's awesome.
So, but have you noticed, the exception of Gervais, they're all female?
Yeah, wow.
Isn't that funny? And one of my favourite comedians here, her name is Bron Lewis. She's a good pal of mine, and she is excellent. But one night I did a show with her, and we were in the Gold Coast, and Joel Creasy was hosting it. And it was an open mic thing or something. I can't remember what the structure of it was. It was in the Star of the Gold Coast. And this very tattooed man, and I'm not saying he was selling drugs, but he had his Gucci buckle bag. And then he said to me, when she was up on stage, she's like, female comics aren't even, no, he didn't know the word female. Women comics aren't even funny. And I was like, oh shit. And I went and said it to her. And she said to me, who the fuck said that? And she goes, where is he? He's getting ready to go back up to do her next intro. And I was like, he's gone. I generally, more often than not, find female comedians funnier than men. Maybe it's my sensibility as a gay man. Maybe it's a lot of the straight guys in the scene are great too, don't get me wrong, but I find some of the things the ladies talk about they appeal more to my humour, I guess.
Yeah, wow. And so we talked about how Dublin is an unhinged place to perform at, but do you have another favourite place that you've had a great show at that you just always think back to?
My first one in Brisbane.
Yeah.
Wow.
Sorry, not the first night, but my first solo night, because there was just so much crazy support in the room. It was pissing rain out of nowhere. On December 1st, and I was like, oh, nobody's going to make it now because, Brisbane people, they stop leaving the house when it rains.
That's me.
I'm like, I'm from Ireland. Go outside your home. It rains there all the time. But that was wonderful because that was an adrenaline orgy. That was just, I thought I had no gauge of time when I'm up there. I'm really bad. And I thought I'd done 40 minutes and it's meant to be like you sell it as 55. And for that one, I'd done 75. And I was like, huh? But my support act said to me, no, you've been on for 75 minutes. I'm like, I didn't believe her. I'm like, that's not true. I'm like, but why is it 9:30? I don't understand.
They're sucked into a wormhole.
And that really is what happens to me. Because my friend who stage managed my show in Dublin, because it was in such a big space, she had a copy of the full notes that I had. And she's like, you go off topic too much.
Oh. But as long as you're funny, you're doing your job. So.
Exactly. That's it. If they laugh, who cares?
Yeah, exactly. Well, Ciaran, you are performing at Brisbane Comedy Festival from Thursday, May 1st through to Sunday, May 4th, and they are all evening performances. So there's really no excuse for no one to get there. And I'm sure you'll be playing to full rooms. But what is coming up for you after Brisbane Comedy Festival?
Yeah, so I'm hoping at the end of the year, I'm waiting to see what's happening about. I usually go home every Christmas. I'm hoping to do London in December, January. Maybe another one in Dublin around there. Later in the year is the Melt Festival in October, which is out of the Powerhouse. I might do something with them maybe if they want me. Who knows? Those type of things, a little bit scattered. And then I've half a new show written and I've the artwork done for it. And that's sitting in the back of my head, but I don't really want to rush that too much. So I've always tons of things running around my brain. And then, funny thing, can you see the poster behind me?
Yeah.
I was like, I'm going to put the poster, look like a complete egomaniac. That was outside the venue in Dublin, and I stuck it up on my wall in my house. And it's like, this is getting to be a bit much. But then I would take a giant billboard on the side of the Powerhouse for like a month, and they're made out of canvas.
Wow.
I had no idea. Like, obviously, it's big when you look at it, but you're allowed to keep it. So I went and collected it. Yeah, I went to collect it, and it's in my living room, and we rolled it out. And I don't live in a huge apartment, but it took up pretty much all the living room floor out of my house. And it was like, no, this has to stop, because I wanted to put it up on a wall. But it wouldn't even fit on one of the walls. So if I'll be spending the rest of the year planning other things and hopefully doing the big shows, but mostly staring at giant canvases myself.
That's fair.
I thought that sentence was going to go, you're going to be planning what to do with that giant canvas of yourself.
And I live on the 14th floor, so I want to hang it off the side of the building.
Oh,
if you saw Wicked at the start, no one warns the Wicked, and the big alphabet thing hanging down, they set fire to it. I wanted that, but like, I don't mind if someone sets fire to it, it's fine, but yeah, so something like that. But yeah, I don't know, I like looking at myself.
That's amazing.
That's awesome, yeah.
Well, thank you so much. This has been a wonderful interview, and thanks for coming on. We do have one final question for you before we let you go.
Which you kind of touched on, really.
Yeah. This is a question that we ask everyone in 2025.
It's a double-edged sword, if you ask me.
It is. So the question is, do you like being queer?
Depends on the day.
Yeah.
Is that like a really common answer?
No, actually.
Well, it's my answer.
We were surprised that a lot of guests that we've asked, they've had such positive responses, because we did a whole episode
and my
on
response
it, and yours was so
positive.
negative.
I was of the mindset, people talk about how, oh, you're choosing this lifestyle. And I'm like, if it was a choice, I definitely wouldn't choose this. And that's where I come from on it, because obviously...
Well, life would be a lot easier if you didn't...
We are marginalised and we are like stamped down by most of society. Even today, we think we've come so far and we haven't. Do I love the queer community? Yes, I do. That's the different question.
Yeah, that's a different question.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's funny you touched on that. Do I love the queer community? Depends on which of the letters you're talking about. Let me tell you, the gays have worn me out. So that's a depend on the day too. But yeah, look, what the thing is, the older I've gotten, the less of a fuck I really give. I'm like, yeah, I don't care if you want to think about what I do with my dick. That's nothing to do with it.
Yeah.
But I would say some days yes, some days no. Don't say anything that's going to incriminate yourself, Ciaran.
It's okay. We can get rid of it. This is
great,
live.
wonderful. Fuck off. No, most of the time is how I'd put it. Yeah. I mean, look, I'm still lucky to have friends that I've known pretty much my whole life. And they've all gone on to have, obviously, this very heteronormative experience where they're married, the house, the kids. And I think that's very nice. But I was always much more friendly with females, gay or straight, and even females in same-sex relationships. Even those friends have all gone on to have surrogacies. And the straight friends have all gone on to have children. And I would say, I've had other gay guys of my age say this to me, it starts to become very isolating. So you kind of left the isolation behind, but then it starts to come back in a different way. So that's what I say. But then some days you're like, oh, you're screaming child, you deal with that and I'll have a glass of wine. So I mean, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Depends on the day. And you know what? I've never been to see Lady Gaga, and I just got tickets last week. And I was like, you know what? I don't have to book a babysitter. I can just go and see Lady Gaga.
Yeah.
I need to book a babysitter for me, because I'll be unhinged on that day.
You will.
Yeah, absolutely. Are you going to go?
Yeah.
Oh, wonderful. Did you find it stressful getting tickets?
Yes, absolutely. Because there's 3 of us going. Every time I picked my 3, it would be like, oh, this seat's not available anymore. And I was like, are you fucking serious? It says it's available. Just let me have it.
It was pretty horrible. And they didn't add the second Brisbane show. And I did the Vodafone pre-sale, thank God. But something happened with my work, my day job. And I didn't jump in the queue 30 minutes before. It was like 7 minutes after the 30-minute mark. And I was like, no. And then I got in and I was number 12,046. And I'm like, well, I'm not getting the tickets I wanted. But then I couldn't believe it. I got to the top of the queue and we got the one standing right up the front.
Oh, wow.
I don't know how. I got 2 of them and I was like, and I didn't believe it until they sent me the email. Because I saw Kylie a few weeks ago and she was exquisite. So good. I'd never seen her before. But I had to sit for that and it felt unusual for me. I'm used to standing.
Yeah.
But that would be a great night. I'm excited for it. I'm glad you're going. That's wonderful.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome. So good. And 11 years of her not being here, it's going to go off. It's going to be amazing.
This was like the most long-winded answer where I touched about 46 points to answer your question. Some days yes, some days no.
Well, that kind of feeds into the last thing I was going to say before we sign off for tonight, which was, can you tell our audience what they can expect from a Ciaran show? And it was probably that, right? Getting 46 other avenues before the actual joke.
This is exactly right. This is how the show's
it.
going so long, and that's why I have to be regulated and tied in a little bit, because I will just bounce. And it's all funny and lovely, but yeah, what they will expect is someone who probably should be diagnosed with something but isn't, self-medicates with wine.
Fair.
I'm sure a lot of people need that. And for the sake of your show title being Broken Alone in Brisbane, everyone can get on that same page, because cost of living crisis, we're all broken alone in Brisbane. So if anybody wants to join you for your shows, it's going to be a good time.
And definitely worth the ticket price to make you feel better about the fact that you're never going to be able to afford a house.
Yeah. That's it. Not in this current climate, yeah. Well, we hope that everyone has enjoyed this episode. Don't forget, you can see Ciaran at Brisbane Comedy Festival this coming Thursday through Sunday, May 1st to May 4th. Jump on the Brisbane Comedy Fest website to get your tickets. There are heaps of queer shows on this year at Comedy Festival.
So many. I'm so excited.
We are so stoked to have been able to talk to Ciaran tonight. So it's going to be amazing. Jump on and get your tickets so you can see Ciaran's show.
We'll add the links in the show notes as well.
We will. We'll add all the links in the show notes. So that's it for us today.
Sure is.
So until next week.
You better remember to
stay gay, motherfuckers.
Nice. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I'm talking about, you're talking about, we're talking about just gay stuff.
Thanks for joining us on another episode of Just Gay Stuff. Make sure to follow us at Just Gay Stuff Podcast on all your socials, and write to us with your stories at justgaystuffpodcast@gmail.com.